How you doing, Rich?
I'm all right, mate. Can you see me?
Yeah. What country are you in?
I'm in Romania.
Have you gone back there?
Yeah, we're here now until end of March.
Yeah. Oh, you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's a good, it's a nice city, and the people are good in there. So yes, we saved them over £1 million in 3 weeks. So I think they're happy.
You'll be
In
enjoying
fact,
yourself over there then, will you?
yeah. And Alina came out last weekend, and when I fly back on Friday to Liverpool, I'm getting a car straight to Manchester, and we're off to Marbella for a week. So I'm looking forward to that. But
Good man. Good man.
1.8 million, in fact, we've saved them in 3 weeks. So they're happy, we're happy.
You should be. You've
Yeah,
you've saved him a fortune and filled your boots at the same time, lad.
that's it, isn't it? It's what you got to do. It's what it's all about. It's a win-win.
uh, we've been keeping up with boxing.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, yeah, I have. Yeah.
What do you think to with John Fury's appearance last week?
Just me saying I've been keeping up with it. I didn't see that bit. I've been watching fighters and boxing more than John. What did he do?
They only called the Cobra out.
Oh, I've seen that. Of course I have. Yeah, I've seen that.
You haven't seen, you haven't.
Um, yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah, I've seen that. I thought you were on about something
He
new, but
handled,
no,
he
not so.
handled it well.
Say again.
Think he handled it well.
I thought Cobra handled it well. What's he going to do? He's on a no-win situation, isn't he? John Fury's in his late 50s, and Carl Froch is not. You know what I mean? Carl Froch is in good shape. John Fury is not in comparison. He probably is for a 60-year-old man, but what he's in a no-win situation there, isn't he? Cobra. So I think he's put himself in a position where now he's told him he'll do it for charity, it'll all go away. Just you know that John likes a pound note. I mean, so does Carl, I've heard, but I think it's a good way to defuse the situation, don't you?
Yeah, but this is how I look at it, right? When Carl's mum, Carol, had a pub at Newark, travellers used to go down there and cause problems all the time. And Carl and the Lee used to knock smoke out all of them and their wains. They all used to get stuck into them and bodybuild the stepdad. So I don't think he'd have been bothered either way, Carl, if he hadn't have been an Hall of Famer with an MBE and all them awards and a family and that. I think he'd have gone and knocked on his door, mate.
Do you think?
I think I know, yeah. I know. I
Yeah.
mean, about him. But you know, he's
Yeah,
got
but he
tools, hasn't he, Carl?
yeah, but he's an Hall of Famer, isn't he? He is an Hall of Famer, and he's got different avenues to go down. He don't want to be getting into a situation like that.
He's just, I
It's
mean, well,
it's a bit bad, isn't it, when you can't just have an opinion. You can't have an opinion, and that's the end of it. It's not personal, is it? You know, we've all got opinions on different things. It's just subjective. We all like
harsh
different
on
boxes.
Tyson, no worry, really. I mean, and he did say Tyson's still got time to catch up Lennox Lewis and Ali, you know, and be an all-time great. Still plenty of time for him, isn't there?
Yeah, he's got a good 3 or 4 years, I think. He's not. It all depends on how he performs against against Alexander Usyk, I suppose. I don't think he's got old. I think that he's still got it, and I think he'll be at top for a few more years personally. But he did, yeah. I thought Carl were fair with him. And at the end of the day, people want to know his opinion, like they want to know John Fury's opinion, like they want to know your opinion, like they want to know everybody's opinion, and they can either agree with it or disagree with it. It's not personal, is it?
But what can he do if media agencies ring him up, right? And he obviously he'll be with an agency. They ring him up for his opinion on something, and then that gets passed on to various media outlets. That's how it works, you know yourself. So what is he supposed to do when he says, "For me, Tyson Fury, glasses are full"? What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with anybody having any opinion, mate. It's only, and who's more qualified to have an opinion than an ex-world champion boxer,
All the
or,
fame.
yeah, or any boxer who's put on a pair of gloves. Their opinion's valid in my opinion, and you don't have to agree with everything that people say. It's it's like I say, it's not personal. It just gets blown out of proportion, and it's just a bit ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's not looking like him and Mick or him and Big Joe Egan are going to fight, then, is it?
I can't see it. I can't see. To generate money, you've got to generate interest, and there's just not enough interest in that sort of fight. I mean, how much do they want to get paid? These guys, it's all about pound note, and like I say, to generate enough money, there's got to be enough interest. And who's going to pay? Who's going to pay a lot of money to watch that sort of fight? It's. I think when Mickey was going to fight John, they were a bit of a spark behind it because of it was on the news that he'd sort of thrown that challenge out. It was fresh then. A few years have gone by now, haven't they? So I think that interest has died down. So
The
say again, mate.
fight were 2021, was it, or 20? I forget now. It was 21, May 28th. Posters were made up. It were all agreed, and then they changed goalpost, moved goalposts. So that's when I went after him with billboards. That's when
Well, like I say, that interest has died down though, hasn't it?
Of course it has, yeah. And for that, for Jam Roly Poly to pipe up, right? I think he can get all that going again. Well, he's off his head. Look at all this that's his caused, and all what I said at the beginning. No, it had happened. We've been down that avenue, and look what's happened. John's messed him about again, but had $1 million worth of free PR. Do you know what I mean, kind of thing?
Yeah, it's like I say, it's obvious that John doesn't want to fight anybody unless it's for big bucks. He's not interested. He's got enough money, I'm sure he has, and he'll only even think about it unless it's for big bucks. Where other people that throwing these challenges out, I think they'd take a lot less, wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, say John's the money, wouldn't you, in the fight? So let's say I've got loads of dough and I'm willing to put that fight on. So who'd get what in a split? He'd be 70% all the way, Big John, wouldn't he? Even though he's not my cup of tea, he'd be the one that they all want to see win or get beat, wouldn't he, really?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And he's the one in the limelight, isn't he? Even if it's just because he's Tyson's dad. Nobody's really heard of Joe Egan outside of boxing circles, and nobody's that interested in it in comparison to John. John's in the limelight. He's been in the public eye now for the last 10 years because of different things to do with Tyson. He's been on various networks at different times, either being asked to commentate or asked to his opinion and things like that. So he's the sort of out of all of them, he's like sort of the hot property, isn't he? Out of all of them, when you're talking about people in that sort of game. So he's not going to take anything less than he thinks he's entitled to, is he?
No, and I think that's why he's playing hardball now and he's gone quiet because all we're going to get now is either silence or them piping up and showing themselves up. Mick and Joe, if they keep piping up, calling John out, it's just going to look daft. That's why I think Mick's called Joe out now.
Yeah, but to give him credit, at least he's done that. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily something I'd want to tune into, but at least he's said, well, he's not interested. Let's us have a scrap. So
yeah, and then they might get to Big John.
Yeah, might do. I suppose it'll all depend on numbers and what if they could possibly generate something. It'll all depend on that. But it's a little bit sounds a little bit
They're going
desperate.
to need 50 to set it up. Arena, security, production and everything, and all feeds got pay-per-view. Do you know what I mean? Whichever outlet they want to put their pay-per-view on, they're going to need at least 50 bags to guarantee an undercard. That's before, and then if they were going to do it like that, they could say, right, we're going to pay you this much undercard, right, with a 50 grand and everything else, and we'll split the pay-per-view. But they'd have to. Deal I had with Mick, I think it was, there were a production company coming in and they were going to split it. John, Mick, production company, something like that it was, or whatever. Everybody were getting a slice of cake, but John kept moving goalposts, didn't he? And he's done it again to him, hasn't he? He's done it again.
I didn't think you'd be able to put an event on for that cheap. To be honest, mate, I thought it'd be more expensive than that.
No, 50. Then you've got Gate, right, to come in on that, and you're going to put an undercard of what, 3 fights? That's 6 men. Give them 5 grand a piece. That's 30. Mm-hmm. 7 for arena. What's that? 37. Yeah. 13 grand for security and all grub and everything, and then all to pay production people. Then you just wait for money to come in, don't you? And Gate, on the gate, tickets and your pay-per-view. It's not rocket science to put the show on. You just got to get pop, pop, bang to sign, aren't you? And he's not going to want to do it unless he gets his 200 bags. Or well, what if somebody else comes along with good money for him? And it ain't KSI. It doesn't have to be KSI. What if it were Fred Bloggs from Germany, some mad lunatic, who wanted to put it on? What's John going to want then? He's saying he wants $1 million, isn't he?
Yeah. I just, I don't think Evander Holyfield got $1 million when he fought his last fight and got knocked out against that old MMA fighter. I mean, it's just not going to generate that sort of revenue unless, like you say, unless some eccentric guy comes in who's got bags of money and he just wants to see it for his own pleasure and he's willing to just throw money away. But I don't think it generates those kind of numbers. You can't get good numbers for proper boxing matches. You can't get some numbers for some of these misfits fights. I mean, your top guys who are in that world, your KSIs and your Pauls, Jake Pauls and Logan Pauls, they can because they've got millions and millions and millions of Instagram followers.
Yeah, but Richard,
they're not in that world, are they?
You're missing the point. If Big John Fury's involved, it'll do pay-per-view numbers because they'll be on a slice of cake. He'll just get the big daft son, won't he? To pin it to his social medias and thrash it for 6-7 weeks, and that's how they'll all get paid. And that's why he's money in it, John Fury. That's why he's going to want the lion's share if he does fight. I mean, it's not like I say, it's not my cup of tea, but he's the money in the fight, isn't he?
Well, agreed. But my point is, mate, he's not fought, has he? If it were going to be so easy to generate those sort of numbers and get paid, he would have done it by now, wouldn't he? Yeah. So something's not clicking, is it? Within the whole process, something's not coming together. So if he wants paying, who's going to put that money up? And nobody's put it up so far. So, at least to a level where he's happy to take the fight. But it's not something I want to watch. You know what I mean? I would have watched Ricky Theo and John Fury, go at it 3 or 4 years ago when it was first mooted and it wasn't old ancient news. But I'm not bothered about watching 2 guys in the 50s have a scrap.
Yeah. All right then. Did you watch Krusher Ben and Peter Dobson?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I heard some of your stuff this week. I mean, I had to agree with some of the things that were said. About the special performance biscuits and all that. I mean, it just stinks, doesn't it? That, like you've already said, like I said previously, that he weren't knocking anybody out for a long time. Then all of a sudden he becomes a roadman, and then now that he's probably not cheating. He's not knocking anybody out since. I mean, it just tells you a story, doesn't it? And it's the performance was laboured. I do think that guy is durable. I've looked at his sort of stats and his bot rec stuff a couple of weeks ago. He is a durable fighter, but like I say, it just tells a story, doesn't it? He doesn't knock anybody out. He gets on the special sauce. He starts knocking people out. He comes off the special sauce, and he doesn't.
Nobody's asked him how clomiphene got in his system, and it's been going on 20 months now. Nobody's asked him once. Why is that?
Plus, like with not just him, but like everybody else, people are frightened to death of being frozen out. Can't ask a straight question. If they do ask a question about drugs, it's all about, is it being sorted out with your legal team? Is it that? But nobody's going to ask him that sort of straight question. Like nobody asked Dillian White. It just does not happen. They're just frightened to death. Look at Tyson Fury when he gets asked uncomfortable questions. He stops talking to the media outlet. He's still not talking to BBC after, I don't know, 5-6 years.
Well,
They're just frightened to death. They're frightened to death of being frozen out.
Talk Sport have had a 3 month, is it 4 months now? 4 months they've been banned, haven't they?
Yeah. And they're not, they were a little bit better than most people, but they still weren't sticking it to anybody. There's always like a caveat. There's always like sort of a get out. There's an exit for him, whoever's answering questions. They don't really hold them to the flames. They don't ask the questions that the fans really want to know. So they're just frightened to death to do it. So it's the same old story. And it gets back to boxing fans. Boxing fans they know what's going on. And we either choose to swallow it. I've said this many times before to you and on here, that we either choose to swallow it or we choose to switch off. And 99% of the times we swallow it and we forget about what we've said and we forget about how we feel. And we just tune into boxing again because we're curious to see how things work out and pan out. We're fans. But, nobody else is going to fight that battle from anybody else's behalf. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to ask those questions because they're frightened to death of getting frozen out.
Yeah, yeah. How do you see Zhang Parker going?
I think I said last time when I was on, I think I just fancy Parker in that fight. I don't think it's going to be easy because he's a bit of a monster, Zhang. I just think that if he sticks to a game plan like he did with Wilder, I'm not saying Wilder's got the same style as Zhang. We all know he hasn't. But if he can sort of be faster than him and he can box on the outside and pop him and then move in and out, and he can stick to that game plan for 12 rounds. I think he does him on either a late stoppage or more than likely points win. That's what I see.
You see Parker, because he likes to not only stay on the outside, but he tends to stay another little bit of a reach away from that as well, doesn't he? He doesn't really engage, does he? Do you know what I mean, kind of thing. Do you think he'll do that to Zhang, try and tire him out?
Yeah, I think he's got to because he's a big, massive lump, isn't he, Zhang? He's a 20 stoner. He's walking around at 20 stone about all the time, and he's an heavy lump. I think if he wore him down over 11, 12 rounds, he could catch him and knock him out. But I don't think Parker's going to land one on him in the third or fourth round. It's going to have to be a flurry of punches at the end if he could catch up with him. So he's got to stop on the outside because I think the converse is true about Zhang. I think if Zhang could knock Parker out, he's got that in him if he gets caught. So I think he's only got one game plan. And I think Parker fancies it. I think Andy Lee and Parker fancy it. I think they can see that's the way to beat him. And so to answer your question, mate, I think Parker on points or a very, very, very late stoppage.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go Zhang stoppage.
Right, okay.
If Tyson Fury retires or he gets beat against Usyk and he don't fight again, where does that leave Bricktop with his position at the top? Because it looks to me like you could say with what's lined up in the next few months, Eddie's top dog at the moment. Bricktop's marginally on his arse, basically. Does he drop away down pecking order without Fury?
It's obviously going to be. It could obviously be a blow to Warren and it would be you're losing probably the biggest star in boxing as regards revenue and regards heavyweight champ and everything that's been going on, all the controversy that surrounded him and all the publicity he generates and all that. It's not going to be good, is it? It's probably Rick Top's biggest earner, isn't it, by far? But he'd just come back from it, don't you? He's had many times like that. He had Naz, didn't he? He had Patton. He had loads of stars. Calzaghe. He's had them all. He's seen it all. He's done it all. So he's not going to let one fighter just. Frank will retire when he wants to retire, and I think that he'd just get on with it and start recruiting other boxers. And having Tyson Fury's put him back on map a lot, hasn't it? And it's generated some income for his company, which it was suffering for a long time. And we've talked about his accounts on Company's House. They've had a boost over the last 2 or 3 years, and they've made a lot more money than they had from the previous 3 years. So I think he'll just bounce back. That's what he does. And he's getting on, obviously. How long does he want to go on for himself? He's 70 years old now.
72.
So 72 then, mate. So, I think if he wants to carry on, he will. He's seen it all happen before. Like I say, he's had all those stars. He's worked with everybody. So I don't think it's going to finish him off if Tyson moves into the background. But then again, I think that's a moot point anyway, because I don't think Tyson's going anywhere.
No. Okay. Billy Joe, the comeback didn't happen, did it?
No, I didn't expect it to either. He's been out too long, and he's been enjoying his money for too long, and he's settled in. And he might have stages in his life where we might have a couple of beers one night and then think, oh, that's it, I'm going to get back into training. Or he sees himself in the mirror and he thinks, oh, I've got to shift some of this weight off. The best things for me to get back into training and stuff like that. But it's more and more difficult. He's what now? Is he 34, 35?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not doesn't get any easier, especially his weight. So I can't see him coming back unless he runs out of dough. But I think he's made enough out of game where you'd have to be pretty reckless to run out of money he's made out of game. So I can't see it. Can you?
I think he will come back, but it'll be on his terms. He'll wake up one day and he'll say, what am I doing here? Or he'll be somewhere and he'll think, I should be really in training. I've had enough of this. There's only so much you can take, isn't there? But it's not like he's old in the late 30s. He's still young 30s, isn't it? It's not end of world, is it, for him?
Yeah, he hasn't got a lot of miles on clock regarding his fighting. He hadn't had 10 bells knocked out of him, but he's just I don't think he's got that desire, and that's a big thing. There were times when he were actually in his prime when he didn't have desire, and he went off rails a few times, put loads of weight on, did what he wanted, messed about, partying and getting into mischief. And I'm not knocking that. Boys will be boys, but I just think they find it hard when they get to that level, and they don't need to get up and do the runs, and they don't need money anymore. I think it's he's a gypsy, so he's got it in him from that point of view. They'll always want to fight. I get that, but I just think his desire and his body will let him down the older he gets. He's not every day he's getting older. And I've stopped listening to a lot of this comeback talk, mate, until they're actually signed and they're in a camp and they step into the ring. I don't believe half of it, mate. I don't.
No, I think it's just professional boxers with a few quid just wanting to go away for a couple of weeks in the sun and do a bit of training and see the mates in it. That's all it is, isn't it, really? And be
I
around.
just think he just weren't into it all the time when he were fighting. I think he had his best spell as regards knuckling down under Flex for that one camp and that one fight, and then he sort of drifted again, didn't he? It's you've got to it shows you when you put the work in, mate, what you can do. But I just think that it's difficult when they get that money and they get to a certain age. It is.
Yeah, Billy's got enough north about him and enough smarts in his boxing brain to to get develop a style to come back, I think, and just get through and just fumble his way through. But he, think it's 3 years since he's fought in it in May. It's a long way, long time out, isn't it?
It's a long time out, and no matter how good your boxing brain is, you start to degenerate past a certain age, and for middleweights, it is the mid-30s, and you can old man certain people, you can develop a style, but you can't stop your reflexes from slowing down. You can't do anything about that. You can't stop anything about your legs and your performance deteriorating after a certain age. Even if you can manage 98% of what you were, maybe that's good enough for most people. But when you're at an elite level, you can't afford for that slowing down to happen and then get in with people who are up and coming and fast and hungry. It just don't work. Uh, there are a few exceptions. There's been exceptions over the years, over the last 50 years, or at least the last 40 years I've been watching boxing. Of course, there's been exceptions, but few and far between, bro.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think to that 10 million fine inserted into the contract? Do you think that's fair on Usyk?
I think it's fair on all parties. I mean, I think there ought to be more stuff like this, to be honest. You have fighters who pull out of fights. You have promoters that every now and again they can't put a show on because of this reason, that reason, that fighters letting them down and fake injuries sometimes. And you can never get to the bottom of it. You find out that they failed a drug test and they're trying to make it go away or whatever. I think once you commit to something, unless there's not a genuine injury or a genuine reason why you have to pull out of a fight, should be fines attached. It's only the same for any other working man. We don't deliver. I don't deliver on my job. There's a penalty attached. Why should it be any different for boxers?
I suppose it's just like footballers, isn't it, really? If Klopp would have got sacked at Liverpool, they'd have had to give him 2 years' money. But because he's decided to walk, should they say to Klopp, now you owe us 2 years' money now?
That's a fair point, mate. It's a fair point. I suppose it's what's written into his contract. If he's got into his contract that he can give him notice and resign, no. But if he hadn't got that in his contract, they've got I suppose they've got the right to hold him accountable. I suppose but we'll never know the detail of that, will we? We'll never know the detail of that.
I think he'll go away, have a break, and I think whoever comes in will mess up, and then he'll come back.
Yeah, it's a strange one. That it surprised. I think it surprised everybody, didn't it? He said, the reason was he just doesn't have the same energy. But again, when you how old is he? 60?
I think so, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So and he's a fit 60, and he hasn't got any fat on him. He looks quite healthy. He looks quite fit. But there's no getting away from the fact that stress is a killer. When you're 60, you're 60. No matter how good you look and how fit you are, and he might be fitter than most 40-year-olds knocking about. But you get to a certain age where you start looking forward to stopping. No matter how good you've got it, I mean, he doesn't need any money, does he? He's a multi-millionaire. He loves the game, but if he just literally hasn't got that energy and he don't want that stress and he don't want that time away from his family, I can kind of get it. And he's going out at the very top, isn't he? So I think you might be right. But so many do, don't they? They get out and they can't stay away. It's a bit like a drug, isn't it? Football for a lot of ex-footballers and managers, they can't get away from it. I was watching somebody. I was watching that overlap with Wayne Rooney, and
Yeah.
he's got all the money in the world, and he wants to get back
Oh,
into management. Wayne Rooney, he's been sacked I don't know how many times, but he just can't stop away from it.
listen, if you spray a car 50 times and you balls it up 47, You know what I mean? You can't spray cars. Now, if he's managed 50 games with them clubs and he's won three, he's not a football manager, is he? You see where I'm coming from?
I do, mate. Yeah, I do. He might not have, he just might not have got it. But my point was, is that it's like an addiction. They can't keep away from it. So you might be right with Klopp. He might have a bit off and he might come back. My point is that um, you can get to an age where you're just looking forward to stopping and you've had enough. And and time away from the family is a difficult thing, isn't it? When you've got kids and you start having grandkids and stuff like that, and your wife gets fed up. He's not flying her out, I don't think, to the Champions League games during the week, and his missus isn't going down to London when they're playing Arsenal and all that sort of stuff. So work-life balance isn't great, is it?
Yeah, yeah. So at least he's leaving Liverpool in a good, strong position. I mean, they've got all them kids is just blooded that's on Sunday. Did you see them all?
I didn't see much. I saw result, saw goal, but he's definitely leaving club in a lot better shape than when he found it. He's been their most successful manager in the last 30 years, isn't he?
Yeah,
Probably since Paisley. I mean, you could argue that.
dog leash.
Yeah, you could argue what's his name who came after Paisley.
Joe Fagan.
Yeah, you could argue since him, I suppose, because he won a few trophies, but he's definitely breathed new life into that club, so we can't knock him for that. And he's a likable guy, isn't he? He is a likable guy, I think so. Anyway,
Yeah, listen, if he takes another club on, they'll give him carte blanche. He can take his team, just name his price in, can't he? If he comes back,
oh, for sure.
he'd be on 500,000 a week.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And his team, for that team of four, they'd probably split about 100 grand between them, wouldn't they?
Yeah, yeah, he's done well out of it. Like I say, I can get it. He's going out at the very top. He's got bank millions and millions. He's still relatively young to enjoy his last, 20 years or whatever he's got left on the planet. There's more to life than just doing one thing, isn't there? There's more to life, mate. Believe me.
Yeah, there is. Who do you think will win Premier League?
Well, it's not my team.
Who's your?
You know, I'm a Sheffield United fan.
Not wrong with Sheffield United.
Yeah, they're having some troubles, aren't they? Did you see it bust up at the weekend? And they got to a bit of handbags between themselves on pitch.
God,
Yeah.
not
So anyway, I think Liverpool probably will do it, mate. To be honest,
dear.
I think so. I think they'll hang on. Like I say, it's. I think that probably. I don't believe in destiny and all that sort of crap. I just don't believe in it. But you almost feel it's sort of his story's going to end on that sort of exit. You know what I mean? It feels that could happen. So we'll see. And good luck to him if it does.
He'd be
I mean,
happy.
I
Well,
go on, mate.
I'm just saying he'd be happy if he won anything really this year because he's already won everything once, hasn't he? So he's won everything. So there's no more for him to win, is there? He's just
No, and I, I ain't got like a particular. I sort of like him. I like Pep. I like Pep a lot. You know what I mean? So I don't care which one of them wins it. But all I want is Sheffield United to come back up next season. Fingers crossed. But I couldn't get. I tried to get some corporate tickets, and I couldn't get any this year for obvious reasons. I couldn't get anywhere. There were six together. Um, Six season tickets together, but I don't think I'll have that problem next year, will I?
no, they'll be in championship.
Yeah, and I won't have any trouble getting any availability, I'm sure. But
They'll be
then when they're in championship, none of my clients will want to come, will they?
they'll be like what Sheffield United against Salford. Gary Neville